All right, it is loading. Okay, welcome back everyone to the captain and Tennille. And we are, first of all, let me introduce myself. Why I am also at the same time making sure that I am live on Facebook. I am the Ascension Coach, James the Ascension Coach. I help people connect with higher states of consciousness, align with their higher self, and discover their soul's purpose, empowering them to live a life of joy, abundance, love, and fulfillment, all those good stuff, all those good things. And I'm joined by the amazing, the beautiful, the intelligent Tennille, who's going to introduce herself, and then we're going to dive into what we have going on today. So, my friend.
Oh, hi. I'm Tennille. I'm like, you're not even looking at me. Okay, cool.
I have this effect on women. I can't help it, Tennille. I'm working on it. I promise. But go ahead.
All right. So I'm Tennille. I'm a trauma-informed holistic wellness coach and co-founder of Moon Made Meditation, where we help you get back in touch with the essence of who you are.
Awesome. So I am still, so those who are watching, I'm still trying to get my Facebook online, because the way Facebook works, when you're doing live, when you're doing StreamYard, it defaults to where no one else sees it but you. So you actually have to go in and change the privacy, and there's no way around it. So, okay, good. I'm officially live on Facebook as well. So having said that, so we are talking about, and I think I might have mentioned this before Tennille and I first even began our first live session, we had kind of a powwow. What are we going to talk about? Tennille, in her brilliance, just really gave, just in what she was saying, I was able to pull so much from so many of the topics that we're talking about from what she was saying. And I always kind of give it my spin, because I want to catch your eye when you see our stuff. I want you to go, what the hell is when you and the rabbit both have a gun, what to do then is all about. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. And really what we're talking about is kind of our response to life, the way life shows up. And I'm going to let Tennille, if you're okay with this, I'm going to let you kind of bring out, because we also had which I think was probably the first time we've ever had a pre-conversation about what we're going to talk about, because we trust each other. But we had a pre-conversation. So I'm going to let you bring out what this represents for you, and then I'm going to piggyback behind you, if that's okay.
Okay, well, thank you for putting me on the spot. I really appreciate that.
Welcome to my world.
So I believe, I guess based on our pre-conversation, this is what happens when you get to a stalemate, essentially, whether it's with another person or with a decision, and what do you do at that particular point? Like, how do you overcome that stalemate and move forward? So that's I guess that's my summary of it.
Okay. Oh, it's whatever we want it to be. So you you just run with it.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, and when we spoke, because I was like, it's so funny because he's like, he makes these headings and everyone's like, what are they talking about? And so I am like, what are you talking about? What are we doing here? So yeah, but ultimately, yes, that's it. So
okay.
within my practice, we discussed like, how I suggest dealing with when you get to this point, and there's a stalemate, and what are the kind of steps that you do to try and move beyond it, and go forward.
Okay. So I'm gonna be the alpha / sigma male here and kind of take the lead and lead us. Lead us more into it, I'll say. So when I came up with that topic, what to do when both you and a rabbit have the gun, it basically represents when I'm feeling like I'm in control of life. Everything amazing is happening for me. I am dictating to some degree based on maybe my level of expertise, maybe on my experience or my gifts, my talents. I'm dictating how this all shows up. People are responding to me. People are signing up for my coaching program. People are signing up for one-on-ones. I'm getting invitations to speak here in this country or in this platform or whatever. I feel like I'm in control. I feel like I'm the man, or for gender purposes, I'm the woman, and everything is happening for me. Life is pretty much bowing down to me. So what to do when you and the rabbit both have the gun basically now represents what happens when I'm no longer in that space, where I'm not getting as many calls to come talk here, or I'm getting crickets to some degree based on what I'm used to for people signing up for my coaching program or signing up for one-on-one. Life is now appearing to be in control, and I'm just reacting. I'm just responding. What to do when now you and the rabbit, life being representative of the rabbit, now being in control. What do I do then? How do I respond then? And when Tennille and I spoke maybe a couple of days ago, it was over the weekend, right? I think it was Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
We brought more clarity to our understanding of where I was going with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the question becomes, what's my next step?
Mm-hmm.
What is my next step? And a lot of us are facing this, like a lot of us are facing this dilemma. And I believe we've probably cycled through this as well, whether it was when we've known each other or when we didn't know each other, where it's just, man, this is it. I am ascending. But now, what am I doing different? What am I doing wrong that is causing this to show up differently? What do I do then? So, do you want to grab the baton at this point, or you want me to keep going?
Could keep going. I'll let you talk.
Okay. So I love when I get permission to talk. I'm telling Tennille in our business. People that I feel connected to, I never get off of a connection, whether it's my parents, whether it's my daughters, whether it's my friends. I always tell them that I love them. Right. And so I was talking to Tennille this weekend. I was like, it wasn't even talking about this. We had moved on to something else. I was like, all right, I say this to everybody, so don't be caught off guard. I love you, and I will. I'll see you too. And Tennille started laughing at me, and I started laughing. And go, okay. I just remember getting off the phone, thinking that was so hilarious. So, and that's just life.
I'm sorry, I love you too.
Shut up! I'm not paying any attention to you right now. And for those who listen, don't be offended when I tell her shut up. It's not. She knows. She gets it. She knows I'm not. But who I am, I say it regardless of whether I get it back or not. Like, my father may watch this at some point off of my Facebook, and I used to tell my dad I love you for years before it finally came back. But it's about and it's a great segue into where we're at with this. It's a great segue into, no matter how life shows up, good, whether we label it as good, bad, or indifferent, always be true to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to say that to the people I feel connected to, regardless if I get it back. I don't. It's not based on it getting a response from them. Look at her smile. It's not based on whether I get it back or not. It's based on, this is who the F I am. Like, this is who I am. I'm always going to show up as James.
Yeah.
And whether life, and this is how you also can kind of get back on track of having those experiences, because this is what I tell my clients. I might have even mentioned it here. At times, life, I'm pretty sure I've had this in private conversations with you, but life at times will present itself in a way that goes, are you sure you say, or you are who you say you are? So in other words, if I am seeing myself as this highly successful, highly sought after, highly paid coach, and now I'm experiencing what appears to be crickets in my reality,
Hmm.
am I still going to own the fact
Yeah.
that I'm a highly successful, a highly sought after, and a highly paid coach, even based on what appears?
Yeah.
Hell, fuck yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Because who I am or what's out there does not dictate
Who I
who
am.
I am.
Yes.
And so, where I'm going with this, and then I'm going to pass the baton to Tennille, where I'm going with this, what you do when both you and the rabbit have the gun, meaning your self concept is your self concept, and now it appears that life is dictating or trying to dictate who you are. What to do then is you dig in even more. You dig in even more. You drop resistance in that moment. In other words, you stop fighting against life, and kind of where Tennille goes with what she talks about, you go within. This is who I am. I'm not going to blink. You're going to blink before I blink. So I'll now pass the baton to my friend here.
Yeah, I mean, just to go on that, when that happens, you remember who you are. And sometimes in these moments, particularly when there's a lot of outside pressure,
Yeah.
you can feel like you have to change direction, you have to do what people expect of you, even if that doesn't align with who you are. I mean, yeah, I can speak to that from my own personal experience, right?
Mm.
So I think I've expressed that for myself. My primary identification, so to speak, is that I'm a mom, right?
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and making that decision to like focus on being a mom didn't come without a lot of like pushback from people around me. Now, luckily for me, my son's father was very supportive. So, if anything, we were on the same page, which is a very important thing. Um,
Yeah.
but other people, I mean, I had people looking around me saying, "Oh my gosh, you could have been something," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm being the thing I want to be." You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
When I was a young guy, I used to model. I even had a few guest spots on TV shows, right? And I remember this one time I was out, and this one girl was introducing me to someone. She's like, oh my God, this girl could have been something. She used to be on this show and da 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 da. And I'm looking at her thinking, what do you mean I could have been something? I am something. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Just
Right.
because I haven't reached whatever it is that you think I should be, right, doesn't mean I'm not doing what I want to do, which is ultimately be a mom. And even one of my closest friends at one time, we were talking, she was talking to me about, how things were. And there's a time that I worked for McDonald's. And again, I'm in my 30s at this point, right? But I was excited to be working there because it was flexible and it allowed me to have a part-time job and still be available for my son. So for me, it was a perfect situation. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm talking to a friend of mine a few years later, and she was just like, "Oh my gosh, I was there for you when you were like at your lowest." And I'm like, "When was I at my lowest?" I don't even remember when I was at my lowest. I was at my lowest. When was I at my lowest? Right? And then she was like, "Oh, when
Yeah.
you're working at McDonald's." I'm like, "Ma'am, that was a choice." Like I was happy working at McDonald's. I was doing what I wanted to do. It gave me the opportunity to do what I wanted to do. And that's a and this is what I'm saying, because the rest of the world, they will see you a particular way and they'll have expectations for you based on how they see you. But you have to
Mhm.
know who you are. Right. And I held
Ooh.
on to who I am and who I
Yeah.
want to be. And eventually I was able to create what I want for my life, right? But it honestly didn't happen without a lot of pushback. But it's hard, It's like it's easy to say, yeah, just stay true to who you are when it seems, as like you said, the rabbit's got the gun,
Mhm.
and ongoing the way you want to, or the way you expect me to, when you follow your heart. But I think there's a satisfaction that comes from knowing you've been true to yourself, right? And then thinking about what that end goal is, and how to revisit, how to overcome the obstacle, because you know what you want with your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah. And you know what? For those who are watching, whether live or replay, uh, Tennille is one of the most fun moms out. Like, she came here to be a mom. Like, I don't care how much money somebody can have, or how much status or recognition, celebrity wise, somebody can have, or even just in their circles. Um, there is, she came here to be a mom. Like that's her. I'm the president of the United States, or president of, because she's in Canada. That is, yeah. She was made for that, and I love that she brought that point out, because it's, again, life is saying, well, you could have been this, but no, I am amazing at who I am, and even what I have done, but I'm amazing in this space. This is the space that I own. You know, it's almost akin to, and I can't remember where I spoke about this at, but it's akin to that proverbial $1 million.
Mhm.
Everybody wants to, like, that's the benchmark. I think I might have spoke about this in our last get together. Everybody wants to achieve that proverbial being a millionaire. Now, it's something that was put out there by others that has become the benchmark for success by everyone who's bought into that. And it's easy to get pulled into the temptation of that, but that may not be everybody's goal. That may not be everybody's, what everybody aspires to, or for you who are watching and listening, that may not be what you aspire to. It may just be to be a good mom. It may just be to be a good dad, or aunt, or uncle, or to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it with whoever you want to do it with. It doesn't have to look like how everybody else's experience or what they want look like. And so what you do, or when you and the rabbit both have begun, what to do then is just, again, I'm circling back to this. Standing on business, as they say, be true to yourself.
Mhm.
Find out who you are, who you want to be, where you find value at, and walk that path. And don't let, however life shows up, whether it's an experience, whether it's a person, whether you're in a place that you don't prefer to be in. you know there have been people who I have a good friend who, she is doing amazing in business, but I think it was last year, she was homeless. So no matter where you are, just continuing to be true to yourself, and watch how this reality reconfigures and reshapes itself around who you are. Everything that shows up has come to pass.
Mhm.
And so, are you going to be anxious if things don't look like the way you want it to look like, or the way you feel it should look like? Are you going to, because fear has some good attributes to it, as a call to action, as a catalyst for going deeper into yourself. But are you going to master fear, or is fear going to master you? So, essentially, what I'm talking about, and what we're talking about, is being true to your self concept,
Mhm.
being true to your self concept, and you dictating life. Uh, Appreciate you, Royce Blake. It's you dictating life, and not letting what shows up dictate who you are and how you move in this space. Um, Anything you want to add, my dear friend?
Well, I'm actually curious because I figure, it's wonderful when we talk about concepts, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big, um, I guess, advocate of actionable advice. So
Mm-hmm.
when you come across someone who has hit this roadblock where, they're being true to themselves and they're trying to move forward, and things start suddenly hit that stalemate, right? Suddenly the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help them remember who they are, and kind of like reconfigure so they don't get overwhelmed by fear?
Yeah. And before we leave, we're going to talk about some of the projects we have coming up. So one of the projects I have coming up is called Soul Power, and it's not just tapping into who you are as soul, but it is from the place of consciousness, being aware, or being aware of being who you desire to be. So if life is showing up where the income is not coming in, or the money is not there, or maybe the relationship is seems to be going in the opposite direction, it's almost still the same thing. I have to set aside that time first, where James, you are, and I'm not talking from a space of a from place of affirming or whatever, but really just recognizing the truth. The truth is, as soul, I'm already abundance.
Mhm.
And so if I'm experiencing something out there that is not consistent with who I am, I now need to go in and remind myself, as Tennille talked about, I am abundance. And this may look like, just closing the eyes, cutting out all the sensory perceptions and stuff, and going, my true essence is abundance. And so this is just an appearance.
Mhm.
This isn't the truth. And so it's first getting into that space of recognizing that what has shown up is not the truth. It's just an appearance. Appearances come and go. The
Mhm.
truth is unchanging.
Mhm.
So if I am being influenced by something that is here in a moment, gone in a moment, here in a moment, gone in a moment, if I'm finding my truth in that, then that's, I'm on unstable ground. So first I have to ground myself in who I am as soul and who I am as abundance. And then from that place of awareness, also understand my power.
Mhm.
My power is that life is responding to energy. Life is a vibration, life is a frequency, it's a conscious energy that's being projected out, right? So my second step is recognizing that I created this based on what I'm holding in consciousness. And that could be, so say if it's a relationship that's gone south, am I somewhere in myself feeling insecurity?
Mhm.
Where now this is a representation of not feeling safe?
Mhm.
Am I judging myself, being critical of myself, um, made to some degree not like myself?
Mhm.
And now this is now reflected back to me?
Mhm.
Because from that space, again, I go within, I remind myself who I am. I become aware of being loved.
Mhm.
I become aware of money coming in easily and effortlessly.
Mhm.
And the thing that I'm wrestling with in that moment, and I'm at the space where I no longer have to wrestle with it, but part of that process is continue to come back or continuing to loop. This is just an appearance. This is not the truth. Because the moment this makes me anxious,
Mhm.
I'm lost in the dream.
Mhm.
I'm lost in the dream. The moment this causes me to be mastered by fear, I'm
Mhm.
lost in the dream.
Mhm.
This is now the energy that I'm vibrating at, and this can't be anything other than that.
Mhm.
But and here is a good practice. I wrote this in my notes to bring out in my class coming up. How would life look? Say it's a money problem.
Mhm.
How would life look from the perspective of money coming in easy and effortlessly?
Mhm.
How would life look from that perspective? And here's what, for those of you who are watching, replay, whatever, here's what I don't want you to miss. When life is overwhelming, it's dictating our consciousness, which is showing up in the body. So
Mhm.
if I'm feeling anxious, I may have a body language of this. How am I going to figure this thing out? Or I may have a body language of this. Man, I thought this was going to come through. Did it didn't come through? But from the perspective of money coming in easily and effortlessly, my body language might be this because that's my consciousness. My head is up, my chest is out, my energy is different, and now this is what I'm communicating to what I call the field of energy that's out there.
Yeah.
I am now shifting from being a so-called victim to what's happening and being in this space
Mhm.
of, man, just this. bank account shit to I am abundant, money's coming in effortlessly. So it's also our body language is the evidence oftentimes of the state of consciousness that we're in.
Mhm.
Walking with confident strides. Walking, I think I'm not sure if I know we never did a hypnotherapy session. We
No,
did your session.
we
We
didn't
did
mind
your
yet.
session. Right. But this is oftentimes through the course of my day what I'm aware of. If I'm at the computer and I'm just like, no, James, that's not who we are. I'm being mindful of the energy that I'm putting out there.
Right.
So it's not, and this is what we often think, Tennille. We often think that it requires more effort.
Right.
We think from the entrepreneurial space, if I just had more marketing, if I just had more sales. No, if you become aware of, and this is for me, this is what I teach my people. If you just become aware of being that person who is experiencing what you want to experiencing, the marketing comes in.
Mhm.
The sales comes in. It's, hey, I got this extra marketing package or program that I just bought. Hey, I can give it to you if you need it.
Yeah.
And you didn't even ask them about it. You didn't even mention it to them. So things start coming in that before you were trying to make happen.
Mhm.
And it's all because everything is energy. You are dictating all of it. Or rather, your state of being, your state of consciousness is dictating all of it. It can be no other way.
Right. So then, so one of the things I was, because you mentioned quite a few things, but you're right. When we say this, you face this obstacle now. It
Mhm.
is literally physiological, right? It will affect you, how your body language comes across, all of that. So how do you remind yourself, right? Or how do you recognize that you're in that state so that you can shift out of that state?
Great question. It requires what you often talk about, mindful. It requires a practice,
Mhm.
a continual looping of mindfulness, of awareness. Um, my progression has been almost 2 years now, right? So that it shows up easier for me.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm talking about on Thursday, I'm coming out with my podcast, and my podcast is about the very first moments of ascension when I was laid, stretched out on some Airbnb floor, crying my eyes out, all the way to how I became this version of me. Through that journey, there were hit and misses, hit and misses. It wasn't a thing where I was this person then. So it's a progression where every moment that you do recognize that I'm not in that awareness, or I'm in the awareness of lack. I'm in the awareness of it not working out,
Yeah.
shifting in that moment. You're going to miss some moments,
Yes.
but every moment that you become aware and that you become mindful, it kind of shortens that period of time of you not being aware the next time. So it becomes easier and easier to be aware,
Yeah.
right? And so it's practicing it, spending time in it as much as possible, maybe starting your day, ending your day, maybe a lunch break or whatever, through the course of the day. And you start noticing that you're becoming more and more that person. You're
Yeah.
tapping into her or him more and more.
And so, yeah, absolutely agree. And again, where I stand on mindfulness, and you've said something very
Yeah.
important. It's a lot around the same things that I talk to my clients about, because
Mhm.
sometimes when you're on the journey, and you hit that bump, where you weren't so mindful.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can actually I guess come down on yourself about it, and then that completely
Mhm.
throws it off, right? So I think one of the things that's important to know is that the bumps are part of the process, right?
Yeah.
So I always like to say, because people, and this sometimes happens in relationships, it sometimes happens with work, right? I've actually just recently been dealing with people with work issues, so that's been quite interesting, where it's like, oh, well, I've told this person not to do that. And I'm like, we have this expectation that once someone understands that something is an issue, that they're immediately going to stop. And that's not how it
Yeah.
works. Everything is a learning process, which
Yeah.
means even for yourself, now that you're aware that maybe you should be more mindful of how you're making assumptions about your coworkers' behaviors, right?
Hmm.
You will make an
Hmm.
assumption again, right? And what's going to
Yeah.
happen is when you think about it after the fact, you're going to realize, oh shoot, I made an assumption there. Instead of beating yourself
Yeah.
up about it, pat yourself on the back for the fact that you recognized that you made an assumption. Because the
Yeah.
next time, you're going to notice while you're making an assumption that you're making an assumption. And then you get a
Right.
choice to redirect. And then now you reflect on what was happening before I made that assumption that made me make that assumption. And before you know it, you'll get to the point that the assumption won't be made because you've been reminding yourself and not beating yourself up for those, instead congratulating yourself for recognizing that you're
Yeah.
noticing when you're doing these things, when you're, again, making assumptions, jumping to conclusions, whatever it is that continues to contribute to you getting out of that state of being who you are, right? And
Yeah.
I say that because a lot of the times when we're in a negative state, it is,
Mm.
I don't like to hear that. I mean, depending on the realm you're in, it might be controversial or not, but a lot of the time you're keeping yourself there. And you're keeping yourself there because you're holding on to assumptions that you've made about the situation, whatever that
Hmm.
situation would be, right? You've
Hmm.
made some kind of a judgment about that situation instead of accepting it for just what it is, which is
What it
something
is.
that doesn't really have a good or bad to it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then coming back to what is within you, right? That good
Yeah.
that you're talking about, that abundance that you're talking about, right? That's the reality. But we judge things, and it's automatic and it's human, right? It's one of the
Right.
beautiful things about our nature. But when you practice enough, you get to make the changes that you want. But it is
Yeah.
practice, right? Um,
It's definitely practice.
yeah.
And it's also what you alluded to of being gentle with yourself, right? Because one of the things I learned in at least in the ascension journey, is that it's not linear. It is, you're almost taking, I tell people it's like this. You're at times circling back to where you were before, and now you're like, I thought I had made so much progress. And now that's when you're beating yourself up, but it's an oscillating journey that's going upward. It's not a linear journey. It's, you're circling back, but now it's less, and now it's less, but you're still having those moments where you're like, I know this stuff. I thought I'd overcome that. And then you may, if you're not beating yourself up too much, you may find yourself, and at times it would be the very next day for me, Tennille. I would have this heightened uh, awareness of some conscious understanding that I didn't have before. And it was almost as if at times I would look forward to, I'm like, I'm being, I would be in tears. I'd be like, man, this is just so messed up. And I thought I was like, and then, I'm thinking I had took a step back, but really that next day. And so I came to expect that moments that I was triggered, that within 24 hours, oh, this is going to be bringing me, it doesn't feel good right now, but it's going to be bringing me a higher understanding of this journey.
Situation. Yes.
So and it eventually got to the point where I would just be waiting. I might have a moment and really to some degree be unattached to it, but have that awareness. Oh, something's coming in. Something's going to come in because of what this is. And so it became something where it became the trigger that I would lose myself in to now become something that, oh yeah, something's coming in now. So again, it's not a linear journey. It's a oscillating journey but continually going up. So because that's what I find most, even when I wasn't the ascension coach
Mhm.
and I would coach clients, they would have moments where they'd be like, James, I know this stuff. And I would attribute it to, at times we can know something intellectually, but
Yeah.
not embody it.
Yeah.
In other words, be it. So that's one uh, understanding of what's taking place.
Mhm.
But again, if you are on the spiritual journey, it's more times than not a very oscillating journey. But my point is is just piggybacking off of what Tennille said. It's just being gentle with yourself, no matter where you find yourself at. Whether you feel like I should know this, I know this, or whether you feel like you've taken 5 steps back, be prepared to take 10 forward, and
Yeah.
just being gentle with yourself throughout the whole process.
But I think I have mentioned that one to you before, right? Just in terms of what I've seen working with people, because it's not even so much that it's not even. I would actually say let's go beyond being gentle with yourself and actually celebrate it, right?
Oh, yeah.
That shifts your mood. Like, oh, I messed up again! Yay, learning.
I like that. I like that. I
Because
like that.
honestly, one of the biggest things that I've noticed is that a lot of even clients, there's a lot of negative self-talk that happens, right? When
Yeah.
they they slip back into old patterns, or when they meet a bump, right? And it's like,
Right.
oh, I should know better. I'm so stupid. I'm so this. I'm so that. And it's like, no, you're none of that. You're amazing, right? And
Right.
you're learning.
Right.
So yeah, good for you. You
Yeah.
made a mistake. Did you really? Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
take it beyond just being gentle. It's like being gentle is at least the very basics, but let's take it further. Let's celebrate the slip up, right? So that
I
you
love
recognize
that.
part of the process. And then you don't feel so hard on yourself. Because honestly, that part of coming down on yourself for slipping up keeps you
Mm-hmm.
stuck. And it can keep
Ooh.
you stuck for a while, right?
Yeah.
That whole you're frozen against that gun, as opposed to
Yeah.
realizing that you can move beyond this because it's part of the process, right?
For the process.
Not just because you know it doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. You are learning it. You've just figured this out. You're a baby, you know.
Yeah.
Still,
Yeah.
you're learning how to walk. You'll get there, but you're gonna fall a few times, and it's part of the process.
Part of the process. I love it. So as we kind of close up today's session, Tennille, I want you to, because you have some amazing things going on, and for those who are watching, they need to know so they can, know where to find you and be pointed in that direction. So talk about briefly, what some of the things, some of the projects that you have going on in the immediate future.
Okay, so I've partnered with Jason from Circle of Friends. So I'll be doing some guided meditations for him, and being a part of his upcoming event on PTSD and suicidal ideation. So that's very exciting. Circle of Friends is an amazing
Mhm.
organization.
Yeah.
As well, I am. I think I mentioned in my very first video when I explain who I am. I'm from Zimbabwe originally. So
Mhm.
I've reconnected with, or I've connected with some people from back home, and an NGO known as African Healing Foundation. And coming up, one of the things, and they have initiatives in Africa, Zimbabwe, and Kenya, I believe. And coming up, we're going to be putting together a virtual conference, or at least we're in talks of trying to put this together, to help with suicide prevention, particularly related
Nice.
to university students. So that's another exciting thing that I got on the path. But yeah, and other than that, of course, I continue to do my coaching, meditation
Yeah.
classes. So Moon Maiden Meditation is where you can book me for that kind of stuff. But I'm quite excited with these initiatives because I kind of want to spread holistic wellness as much as I can, everywhere I can. So it's great to get back in touch with home and partner with such great people. And it's a big thanks to you. So yeah.
I,
But
I
yeah.
appreciate that. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. And for those who want to taste Tennille's guided meditation, they're on you got some on your YouTube as well, right? What's
Yeah,
your exact
on
YouTube
my
handle?
YouTube, yeah, We Made a Meditation, the YouTube channel, has the lunar aligned. So remember, I've spoken before about the lunar aligned aspect of my progress. So there's actually lunar aligned meditations on my YouTube channel. And then the ones that I'm partnering with Circle of Friends will be on their YouTube channel. And
Yeah,
that will be just more specific healing guided meditations.
I love it. I love it. And for myself, I start my first podcast on Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'm doing my first masterclass of the year. I always kind of let my higher self, because I'm like, shouldn't we have done this already? But higher self has a total different time frame than I do. So start my first masterclass, Soul Power, How to Operate in the Power of Soul, on September the 8th, I believe it is. But I'll talk about that more on my podcast on Thursday. So having said that, my friend, I won't say I love you because I don't want you laughing at me.
Well, I love you,
But
James. I love you.
I appreciate, I appreciate that. I do love you. I think you are amazing, especially at what you do, what you've been called here to do as a mom, all that good stuff. So I'm sure we'll probably connect in the DMs at some point, or maybe even have a phone call. But have an amazing week. And oh, hold on, somebody there's a comment. I appreciate you. We both appreciate you, Shirley
Yours.
Royce. Um, oh, as a matter of fact, actually, Tennille, hold as I close out. You hold. I forgot we got a debrief. All right, so
Okay.
everyone have, as always, to everyone, we love you. We appreciate you. Namaste.
Thank you.